Okay, year 9, here we go with the circumference and area video. So let's see what we get. So first one, for this it's probably going to be best if we just pick a number for the radius. So I'm going to pick the number for the radius. The big circle is going to be 10. This means the radius of the small circle is going to have to be 5. It's going to be half of 10, yeah? Okay, so what fraction of the shape is shade? So this means my big circle, the area of that is pi r squared, so pi times 10 squared, which is 100 pi. And the area of the small circle, that's going to have to be pi times 5 squared, which is going to be 25 pi. Now this means the shaded area must be equal to 100 pi, take away 25 pi, which is 75 pi. The question asks what fraction of the shape is shaded. So the fraction shaded, that must be equal to 75 pi over 100 pi. That's 100 pi. And then the pi's will cancel out, and 75 over 100 will cancel down to be 3/4. Okay, so 3/4 for 4 marks. Alright, question 2. So we have got two parts of this cone. We've got the curved surface area, so this bit here, which they give us a formula for there, and we've also got the circle around the top there. So our curved surface area, that must be equal to, as we've got it there, pi times by the radius, which is 5, times by the slant height, which is 24. That's going to give us 120 pi. And then we've also got the circle, that's going to be pi times by 5 squared, which is going to be 25 pi. If we add them together, we've got our total area of 145 pi. So that's fine. I'd probably much better just leave it as 145 pi. But if you decided to work it out as a decimal, you can do that by just popping that into your calculator. 145 pi, and that gives you that. So 455.53. Although the mark scheme says you're allowed between 455.3 and 455.6 inclusive. Okay, moving on. Okay, question 3. So now we've got this formula here. Surface area of a sphere is 4 pi times by the radius squared. So the surface area is 4.5, and that's equal to 4 pi times by our radius squared. Okay. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to divide by the 4 pi. So we've got 4.5 divided by 4 pi. That will be equal to our radius squared. But we just want the radius. So 4.5 divided by 4 pi and then square rooted will be equal to r. So all we now have to do is get our calculator back on. And let's do that. So square root fraction 4.5 on the top and 4 pi on the bottom, and there we go, 0.598, but obviously I'm just going to round that to 0.60 centimeters. Okay, moving on to question 4. So here we've now got a quarter circle, which means that's 12 as well, and we've got to figure out the circumference, well, the length of this arc here. Okay, now if we had the whole circle, that would be 2 pi r, so 2 pi times 12. With the entire circle, that would be 24 pi, but this is only a quarter of it, and so 24 pi divided by 4 is 6 pi. So that's this bit, this bit here is 6 pi, these bits are both 12, and so it's 6 pi plus 24. Sometimes you can get multiple choice questions just thrown randomly within a test or within a paper. Okay, question 5. The arc length is 18 centimeters. Work out the radius. So, as we should know from our studies, our arc length is equal to the angle divided by 360 times by 2 pi r. You could use pi d in place of 2 pi r, but this is all to do with the radius, so 2 pi r is a lot better in this case. And so now that's our formula, which this time we had to remember. We're now going to put our information into it. So I've got 18 is equal to 45 over 360 times by 2 pi r. Okay, not very much we can really do with that at this point. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to bring everything on the right hand side over to the left. So I'm going to have 18 times by 360, so I'm just bringing the 360 up to the top, and divide by the 45 times 2 pi, and that will just leave us with r. So all we now have to do is just punch all that into our calculator and we'll get our answer out. Just bring that over here. So fraction 18 times by 360, and on the bottom 45 times 2 pi, and there we go. So 22.9 centimeters is r. Okay, good. And finally on this test, question 6. So the we should have known from our studies the formula for our sector area, and that is it's the angle divided by 360 times by pi r squared. Okay, so get that down first of all. Then we've got to put what we were told into this. So we're told our sector area is 5 pi. We're not told the angle, so that's going to have to be what we're going to be working out. Over 360 times by pi times by, we can see our radius is 5, so 5 squared. Okay, well, so that's going to make life a little bit easier. I suppose we can cancel out the pi's and we can lose one of the 5's as well, and so that just simplifies to 1 is equal to our angle over 360 times it by 5, and so that is going to end up with our angle. It's going to be equal to 360 divided by 5, which is equal to 72 degrees. But now we found the angle, now we've got to work out our arc length, and so our arc length, as we saw on the previous page, is our angle, which is 72 divided by 360 times by 2 pi times by the radius, which is 5. And what we may well have noticed is 72. I mean, you could just punch this into your calculator. I may as well do that first off just to show you that. So we'll want the fraction, and then 72 over 360, and then times that by 2 pi times by 5. So that does give us 2 pi, which is the answer. You may have noticed that 72 over 360 is the same thing as 1/5. So you've got 1/5 times 2 pi times 5, and then you could have cancelled out your 5's, just leaving you with 2 pi. I really don't care whether you use a calculator or not, but you know, if you just spotted 72 over 360, then good on you. Okay, so that's all of that. That was a big question at the end, 5 marks. So let's just have a little look at where those came from. So there we go. So it was 1 mark for getting the 5 pi, 1 mark for getting rearranging to get the angle, then you got 3 marks for getting the angle, and then using the angle formula, and then final one for getting the 2 pi now. So you could still have got the follow through on that, so as long as you use the right angle. Okay, cool. So that's all that. So if you can send me a nice little picture of your work showing your score and any questions, email me, and that's that. Thank you very much.